Hello and welcome into the latest edition of PL Express. Janusz Michallik is joining us today from Poland, and I'm in my basement as usual. But Janusz has got a few little pointers that he'd like to bring to us. Get excited because he might be changing his mind on a few things. Maybe not so much changing his mind, but I think his heart has been stolen by a team sitting at the top of the Premier League right now. And Janusz, that team is Arsenal, who granted they were up against managerless Crystal Palace at the weekend, but it was an emphatic win for Mikel Arteta's men. And it's not that we're going to ask you if you think they're going to win the title. Do you want them to win the title, especially after seeing them in this game?
Listen, we're not supposed to be biased, as we all know, and I have my biases when it comes to Premier League and some of the teams. I think it's no secret that I'm always looking over my shoulder at Liverpool and their failures this season. But look, I mean, I love everything there's to be said about Arsenal. I mean, just the way they play, the way they bounce, the way they show character, and we've seen it, of course. Obviously, in Europe, there was a failure there, but the way they played, take it, Arsenal. Just do it for us, do it for me, because it's a beautiful football. I mean, I just love watching them play, and Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, just about everybody is contributing. So, I mean, if not now, when? I mean, this is the season, because I think it's going to be much harder next season. As we know it, things change and everybody's getting better, and transfer window obviously is going to help some team. But I think, Kay, you and I can agree that Arsenal truly deserve it. And yet, I'm still not ready to do it because the schedule is crazy.
Okay, so yeah, you've mentioned it. If not now, when? Let's take a look at that schedule then. What concerns you? We're seeing what they've got to do now, who they're at home against, who they've got to go away to face. What concerns you with this schedule for Arsenal? Because they're playing as if they're going to win it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the schedule that concerns me. It's the realization. And, part of me thinks, obviously I'm not on the inside of the club, but maybe these players, as we get closer and you look at these games, Leeds, Liverpool, I mean, every game for everybody is difficult, but maybe just the fact that they're going to realize, I mean, it's here to take it. And sometimes it's not the teams, it's just the occasion, isn't it, Kay, right? Sometimes you say, oh my goodness, we can actually do this. And I'm sure the Arsenal probably think that already. They've been thinking about it. Mikel Arteta probably won't allow him to do it. But as a former player, there are moments in time where you say to yourself, wow, this is the time. We can do it. That concerns me more than the schedule itself.
Why does there have to be, everybody talks about, oh, there's going to be a wobble, there's going to be a blip. Why does there have to be? Can it be that the pressure gets so much and that's why people say it?
Right. I mean, because we sit here with zero idea what's happening on the inside of the club, which is very, very important, right? But yes, sometimes the occasion, as it gets closer, it kind of, the fans expect that you go and you go to the stadium, you say to yourself, my goodness, 2 games away, 3 games away, 5 points, 6 points, 7 points, and you start to realize that, wow, it's here for us to take it. And I mean, that's just honesty. Otherwise, I mean, not being on the inside of the club, I wouldn't know it. But Kay, I mean, if they don't do it right now, I mean, it'd be crazy. But look what City are doing. Look what Erling Haaland's doing. And you and I have talked about it. Has he changed the way they play? Yes and no. Does he score? I mean, you asked me, I remember the very first show we were here, you asked me
45.
45. I mean, we're close, aren't we? I mean, it's March. I mean, that's crazy.
And we were laughing that I lifted it from 40 to 45. And maybe I'll put it at 60 now, Janusz. Can you get 60?
I mean, it just goes to show that we really, truly don't know anything. I, put my hand up. Sometimes, you think you know the game, and what he's doing is incredible.
So given that you've brought up City, let's also remember City is still in the FA Cup. We've got the semi-finals to come now, and then potentially a final. They're still in the Champions League. Arsenal are not in the Europa League anymore. Don't have to worry about cup competitions. Doesn't that give them an advantage, given the fact that they can only focus on the Premier League now, as we take a look at what Man City have ahead in the Premier League?
Okay, yes and no, because I think that City are just growing into the best time of the season right now. Just have a feeling, Erling Haaland aside, it just seems to me that City's been hanging around for a little bit, not at their best, but the best is yet to come because there's so much talent there. And that's why, today, you and I and our producer Rob, we were talking before the show, and I was ready to say, you know what, Arsenal are champions. And then I said, no, because I know how this game goes. And to me, Kay, City is starting to be at their best. And if they continue that, I still think they can overtake Arsenal. I hope Arsenal win it because I enjoy the way they play. This is the best football that I've seen in a long, long time from any team. And that includes Manchester City, of course, and Arsenal of old. But I kind of like teams that are young, that are building or rebuilding. And that's why part of me wants Arsenal to win it. But I'm not ready to say it. City is just starting to be the best. And all the competitions that you've mentioned, by the way, I think that's just going to fuel them. Yes, on one hand, Arsenal doesn't have to worry about that. But I like teams that are in for many trophies because momentum is building.
Yeah, momentum is building. And I know, obviously, City are who they are and can go on to win every game in the Premier League and still not win it. If Arsenal can keep up their end of the bargain, so what suggests that they won't?
No, nothing. That's why I look, they're in the first place. They have a little bit of a cushion. They still have to play City. We know what happened already. They haven't.
And if they lose and they do win out other than that, they're still okay.
Right. That's why part of me thinks, focus on one thing, as you've said it, rightfully so. And so I'm hoping Arsenal are going to win the title and City's going to win the Champions League. There you have
What does it mean? Well, okay. Yeah, nice. What does it mean for Arsenal if they do go on to win the title? What does it tell us about this club when it comes to the Premier League next season, let's say, and the players that they may be able to attract to come there, and whether they are going to be a force in the seasons that come if that happens? Even if it doesn't happen, what do we learn about Arsenal this season?
Well, the one thing, and I'll stay with it because, it's the leader. It's Mikel Arteta. We've been all of us been wrong. I can't imagine that there was one person in our business that have said or foreseen what Mikel Arteta was doing because it wasn't all that obvious, was it? Wasn't it? Right? The couple of seasons when they finished 8th and, we wanted him to go. And I think it's an incredible leader that has learned under Pep Guardiola that I would say at this moment, now that I think about it, I wasn't ready to say that before the show, but that plays better football than Manchester City, than his boss and his mentor, I guess. I'm assuming that Pep Guardiola is Arteta's mentor to some degree. I think Arsenal play best football in Europe right now, and certainly in Premier League.
So with that, and given the fact that Mikel Arteta was given the time that he was, do you think that this is a good example of showing what can happen when you do give a manager time to get things right, to put his stamp on his side, that you do reap the rewards?
Yes and no, because there are times where you have to let it go because you can never see the future, right? And just as I thought that Mikel Arteta wasn't the man to be, a couple of years ago, you look around the Premier League right now, you see Crystal Palace, you see different examples, and sometimes to believe, for us, it's so hard to say because we're not there. And I've said this numerous occasions right now, but because we don't know it. But you got to understand the man, the principles, the ability to get to players. And I think we're just seeing, Mikel Arteta for where he is right now, the way he behaves, the way the players are playing for him. So I wouldn't have given him time. Let's be honest here. And you know that. But I'm glad they did.
Yeah, so maybe that is a lesson to be learned for a few other club owners right now, especially the boards of a few sides. Speaking of which, we have to talk about what's going on at Spurs right now. Antonio Conte with an outburst after his side's 3-3 draw with Southampton. And an outburst for the ages as well. Now, anybody who watches Italian football, any Italian football fans, are not surprised to see this from Conte. They know this is going to come. But I don't think that we expected it to see it so strong. His words, what he was saying, calling out everybody, the board, the owner, the players. He's since said his words were only directed at the players and not the board or the owner. But he specifically did point towards the owner when he was having this outburst. First of all, what did you make of it?
Okay, I'm a big fan of Antonio Conte. I've covered Serie A for 20 some years until we at ESPN lost that league. And, it's close to my heart. I feel that I know a bit about that league. And I like Antonio Conte. I have never been disappointed with a manager more than I have been now. I mean, he might as well leave. I mean, he should leave. We all know the situation. We know that in the summer he's not going to be there. Why is he there now? I don't care if that's pointed towards the players or it doesn't matter. I mean, Spurs are in the fourth place. They're fighting for a big, I don't want to say title, but as we all know, Champions League is so important financially to clubs and in general. And I don't understand why he's still a manager of that club. I mean, this is something that it's not only that I've soured on Antonio Conte, I'm starting to question actually if he's a good manager. I don't know, because we know that if he has the money, he can do it. But is it still the case? Even if he was given the money, I mean, he spent what, $200 million? I mean, he's getting paid 15 million. And this is the message that we're hearing at this point of the season when Spurs are fighting for the title. That's unacceptable. I mean, he should have been. Unless I miss breaking news because I'm in Poland here, I traveled. I don't understand why he's still a manager of Spurs.
So have Spurs not had the cojones to get rid of him right now? Should they have just sacked him?
Absolutely. I mean, as I said, for the life of me, I mean, it almost doesn't take the interview that he's given, because I think you and I have been kind of questioning Antonio Conte, in general, not wanting to sign a contract, not sure what his future may be, even though he's telegraphed that fairly well, and all supporters that read, anything that's out there know that the future for Spurs is without Antonio Conte. But I truly don't get it. To me, that's unacceptable. And as I said, I'll repeat it again. I don't think he's good at. I don't think if I'm a big club, I don't hire Antonio Conte. And Kay, that for me to say that, I was a big fan of this manager.
Yeah, I know you were. So you think that's a red flag, obviously, that other clubs are going to look, that he's going to say things like this. Did he actually say anything wrong, though? You've used the word unacceptable. He used that a lot in his rant. Did he actually say anything wrong? And if you think he did, what was wrong with what he said?
Everything that he said was true, but managers just can't say that. Not in the situation that Spurs are in right now, because, I mean, this is a big fight. He's right. That's what Spurs are. They haven't won for a long time. Nothing that he said wasn't true, but you just don't say that as a manager, and not in that matter, because it's almost as if he went out of his way to point out the issues with Spurs. And, those issues exist with everybody. I mean, if you want to win the title in the Premier League, you have to spend upwards, I don't know, $1 billion. But that's not the case. We've seen in the past, and look at Arsenal. They spend money, but they're coping.
So, let's say he's staying. What happens now after this international break? That's got to be an awkward atmosphere. Some of our guys on the FC show said, as a player, you usually don't care. You just get your head down and get on with it, especially because he's going at the end of the season. But given what he called them out on, that's an awkward dressing room to be going back to.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd be surprised if he's still there. He may very well be, and maybe that was his way of saying, put up or shut up, right? It's one of those things. But look, I still don't like anything I see from Antonio Conte. The way Spurs are playing, the way of football, the way he manages. In Serie A, that's a different story, because in Serie A, nobody asks about how you win, right? I mean, everybody's used to a certain way of playing football. But I think Premier League is about entertainment. There's a reason why Premier League is the best in the world. When I say best in the world in terms of that, I think young people or supporters want to watch entertaining football, and he doesn't provide that. And on top of that, he kills the club. So I have zero time for him.
Who's going to change something at Spurs, though? Which manager can come in and switch things up there? If this is what he's saying, if he's saying these players lack desire and lack this passion.
Yeah, of course. Okay, you're always going to, I didn't even think of that. I mean, the obvious names that are out there, I'm not sure, the Pochettinos of the world and all that. So I don't have a name for you. Apologies.
No, it's fine. It's like, but rather, it's not so much giving a name, Janusz. Does it have to be another big name proven manager, or should they take a risk on an up and coming manager in the hope that might help this side?
Yeah, they could. I just think seriously though, when I watch Arsenal, when I watch Manchester City, when I remember Liverpool at their best, I mean they won it, not just winning it, but in a certain way, and I think that's important in today's world. I think when you talk about leagues and you talk 38 games, it's not good enough to just play decent once or twice or three times. You have to get the attention, right? I mean, here we are. We can talk about, Real Madrid against Barcelona. We just had El Clasico. Our attention is divided, isn't it? So I think when you're talking about Spurs, that beautiful stadium, the supporters that long for you know trophies, it's been such a long time. I think it takes somebody special. I don't think it's just any way of winning, although Spurs supporters will take it, but you have to do it in style. So I don't have a name, but I think it has to be a project. It's a massive club. It's in Premier League. It's in London. It's a beautiful stadium, and I think they deserve something better than Antonio Conte is offering.
That's Antonio Conte. Talk to me a little bit about Harry Kane, because you wonder what he's thinking in all of this, and if it does set some alarm bells ringing in his head, and if we will see something similar to the summer when he was looking to get away from the club, he was pushing for a move. Do you think he should stick around at the club that he loves and he's grown at, or do you think that he should be pushing for a move again?
Yeah, I'm conflicted because either he's going to be a lifer, right, which I think everybody would appreciate, understand, right? That if you're not a Spurs supporter, um, but part of me wants him to succeed, and I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, under Antonio Conte, I don't know if that's going to happen under another manager, but part of me thinks that he deserves to win something, right? He deserves to be remembered not just by his consistency and in so many seasons scoring great goals. I mean, such a great player for Spurs and country as well. So part of me, as it stands right now, hopes that he does move. He wanted to leave last year. He gave it this project under Antonio Conte, which I truly believed in until now. That's over. Let's just wait and see who's the manager, because I'm a little bit old school, and part of me kind of wishes that he stays with Spurs and his career. I mean, give him the money, give him the club, name a street after him, give him the statue outside. I don't know, name a stand in this new stadium after him. That's me then. And me, a little bit of romantic on that, but if he goes, who's gonna say he wasn't right, right?
Right. Yeah, I understand that. But that brings us on to talk about the top four race. Tottenham do hold the top four spot at the moment. Newcastle are just 2 points behind them, but they've played 2 games less than them as well. And it feels as though, and it's understandable, that everybody keeps flip-flopping on who is going to take that top four spot. People pretty much have it that obviously Arsenal, City and Manchester United are going to take 3 of the top 4 spots. So who is that 4th spot for this week for you? Because I don't even mind that people are changing their mind on a weekly basis, Janusz. Because
No,
what's convincing for us every week from either for any side chasing for it,
I'm with Newcastle. Everything that we just said about Spurs, a lack of stability, a manager that's not happy, and airing the dirty laundry in front of us. Newcastle had a soft spell for a while now, but was it Friday? I've been traveling, so sorry, I can't remember when the game was. Big comeback for Newcastle as well. Very good defensively still.
Friday.
I think the best defense in the league, and that to me as a former defender is very, very important. I look at somebody like Alexander Isak. I mean, he's growing in front of our eyes. We all thought that he was capable. We remember him from La Liga. I certainly remember him covering Poland in World Cup qualifiers. And really having to look at him very, very closely. But he's at his best right now. I mean, obviously, injury-ridden season for him, but at his best. I mean, my goodness, did he look the part the other day? So I'm sticking with Newcastle. So yes, Spurs, I don't like anything that's happening there, and Newcastle to me have all the ingredients to finish top 4.
And you're counting out the likes of Liverpool and Brighton then?
Yeah, I mean, Brighton, that story's got to, I mean, if it happens, great, because as I mentioned, romantically speaking, that would have been a nice story. Liverpool, yeah, too much up and down, still not enough. I think they kissed the season away after that Manchester United game. I don't want to mention that game against, who was it against? Bournemouth or something like that.
Okay, so let's just summarize what we've seen today. You can't say that Arsenal are going to win the title, but you can say that you want them to.
I do.
Right, so you want them to win.
Until next week, Kate.
Look at you, Janusz. Do your mind changes like the wind, but at the moment you want them to. But you want them to because of what we've been seeing with the way they're playing and everything, right?
They are the best team in the league right now. They're top of the table. They answer all the critics every week. So fair play to them. I do actually think they're going to win it, but shh.
Oh gosh. And just to put a point on it then, I mean, there's still time. You don't think Antonio Conte should continue at Spurs, even though they're in the top 4 spot and the season is on its way out?
Do I have to confirm this again?
Yes.
Yes. I've soured on Antonio Conte, and for me, that's a big statement.
No, there you go. Someone's coming looking for you for all your takes today, Janusz. I can hear that siren in the background. But thanks so much for being with us. We know you're traveling. It's always great to be with you on PL Express. We'll see you guys very soon.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.